Welcome to First Dates and Soulmates, the romance podcast that supports you showing up at your crush's door, even after they've answered it 3 times, scowling at you. I am Nikki McKnight.
And I'm Meg Casebolt.
And today we are deep diving into one of my personal favorite character archetypes, character duos, and it is that of the grumpy sunshine. Meg, what is your feelings? What is your relationship with grumpy sunshine characters?
How have we made it 115 episodes and we're finally doing Grumpy Sunshine? Because I love a Grumpy Sunshine. My debut novel was Grumpy Sunshine. I feel like Grumpy Sunshine is so great as a way of pitting people against each other and having that sort of like emotional give and take. And like some of the most popular books out there are Grumpy Sunshine. So yeah, I love Grumpy Sunshine.
Yeah, I would say I consume quite a bit of this. I like grumpy just generally. I do like me a little bit of like a grumpy, like a little bit sassy, taciturn, but as soon as like the other character turns their back, the grumpy one has like a little bit of a half smile, but then immediately hides it. Like, I like that vibe. It's like, just like we talked about in our last episode or 2 episodes ago, we were talking about like what other than heated rivalry can you read if you are looking for certain components of that story. And it just somebody commented on me talking about the fuckboy to the soft squishy boy. This is very similar. It's like the inwardly squishy person becomes the outwardly squishy person. Just a little bit. Not completely, but like that's my favorite character. Like the sunshine character is fine. I like them. They're needed to be the foil. But the grump is my favorite. So
I like the sunshiner.
There we go.
I like to see somebody who's not afraid to put their heart on the line, who's not afraid to put themselves out there, who's like, no, and especially like, I'm not going to let your shitty attitude ruin my day. I'm not going to let your grump be like the cloud that takes away my sunshine. Like you can be a dick and you're not going to ruin my day. And I really like that optimism and like, sometimes the sunshine character can come off as like a little over hopeful or naive or innocent. And I think that one of the things that you have to do in order to get Grumpy Sunshine to work is to have them be not innocent and just be intentionally choosing to be deliberately optimistic. Ooh. Even when things don't go their way. And that's a choice.
I like that. I really like that. I think for me, like just in my real life, I often like when other people are grumpy or other people are angry, like I'm so highly empathetic. I'm sorry. I'm such an empath in that way that like it does wreck my day when someone is grumpy or annoyed or angry, like it ruins my day. That perhaps for me, the sunshine character is a little bit aspirational in that choice to your point of deliberately choosing with intention to go, you're not disturbing my peace. You're not fucking with my day. I'm great.
Right. You can be as much of an asshole as you want. I'll be the barista at the coffee shop. You can come in and scowl at me every day and I'll say, here's your latte. Because I'm not going to let you, like your shitty mood is not going to become my shitty mood. And I like that. I appreciate that in a character.
I'd like to see a study on how many sunshine characters work as something like a barista. Because as soon as you said that, I'm just kind of going through my mental roller. Like, a lot of them are baristas. I feel like a lot of them would just have to work in service. Like you have to work in a service-based business, customer service, something public-facing. Yeah. But what would it look like if you had, like, I don't know, an IT professional who never ever saw the light of day be like the most sunshiny person? I haven't read that. I'd be curious to see what it is and have the grump be the one that has to be public-facing. Sunshine. Ooh, interesting. All right, so
next time that I need to pitch a short story for Bother Stories, maybe I'll go with the IT
sunshine, who's never around anybody, and he's like, I just need someone to be happy with.
I thought you were going to say I need somebody to be mean to.
Oh, no, they're the sunshine person. It's great. For those who might not be familiar with this trope, you can kind of guess from how we've been talking about it what it means. But essentially, in a grumpy sunshine duo, you have one character, the grumpy one, who is going to be characterized, who's going to lead with pessimism, probably guarded. If it's in a small town, it's like, oh, that's the one. He doesn't talk to anybody. He's very mysterious. He lives up on the mountain by himself. He comes to town once a week for groceries. The grumpy character is going to... Emotional economy. What is the fewest amount of emotions I can display? And it's probably grumpy or like just inattentive.
Or just holding back, just not
Yeah.
bothering with somebody, sort of dismissive sometimes comes off as
Resting
grumpy.
bitch face, maybe resting neutral face as a characteristic. And then the other character is going to lead, much like Meg said, there's warmth, there's optimism, there's relentless openness, I would say. And that's the friction is generated by those two characters. And it is opposites attract, I think, in a lot of ways, but there's a little bit more nuance to it in terms of why I think Grumpy Sunshine is so fun, is it's not just opposites attract. There's other parts of this.
Yeah, I think opposites attract is so common, and not just in fiction, not just in romance, but like in relationships. I think opposites attract happens a lot. When I look at like my friends and couples, I see a lot of opposites attract showing up there, and it works for exactly that reason. But it's not all Grumpy Sunshine. Like Grumpy Sunshine is a subset of opposites attract because you need to have that emotional difference. And I think also there's something very satisfying when you get a Grumpy Sunshine about pulling the grump out of the cloud that he's sitting in.
Yeah. And
I say he, but they, right? Could be a quote unquote reverse Grumpy Sunshine when it's the woman who's the grump, which like, why is that the default? Okay. But you know,
I was like, I'd be the grump in a duo if I was like a main character. Like I'd be the grumpy one. I would not be the sunshiny one.
I think sometimes it depends on time of day.
Oh yeah.
When
morning.
When was I last caffeinated?
I say this as it's like 9:00 in the morning and I have an iced coffee in front of me. I'm still grumpy.
Still grumpy.
But the thing I also love about this, as someone who came up through fandom and through fanfic, is the popularity of this trope in fanfic. The AO3 tag is grumpy one is soft for the sunshine one. And it has a lot of entries. It has a lot of entries. And that's why I love that a lot of these tropes, I'm not going to say fanfic created them, but I do think for the modern audience, a lot of these things were popularized in fanfic, in fandom, and then kind of slowly moved its way over with its modern definition into indie pub, trad pub, like kind of more of that modern present mainstream, I'll say, form.
I mean, we've talked about this before, that fanfic pushes traditional publishing. You know, fanfic influences indie publishing in the way that like The Hating Game, I think, is one of the more well-known Grumpy Sunshines. And The Hating Game was fanfic for not Twilight.
Ooh, I don't
Social
remember
Network?
offhand. Ooh, I don't remember offhand. That's going to bother me. Let us search that. Because at first I thought you were going to say it was Raylo, and I'm like, no, that was Love Hypothesis, right?
That was Love
Ally
Hypothesis. Sally Thorne started in AO3. Maybe she just started in AO3 and then she wrote this as a side piece. But like a lot of the authors, especially, you know, Sally Thorne, Christina Lauren, Allie Hazelwood, they came up through AO3. They know what those tropes are. They know what those tags are. And they know that Grumpy Sunshine works because every single one of them has strong Grumpy Sunshines across their entire catalog. And I'm just saying the ones that like got plucked out of AO3 and became traditionally published, because I don't think that that's the way that it happens so much anymore, but about 10 years ago it was, is in the same way that, you know, now agents are going through KU, they're going through Book Talk, they're taking a look at what's popular, and then they're pulling from people who already have existing indie experiences. We talked to Matt Wardell about this, about his experience with that. You know, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, pre-KU, or pre this sort of self-publishing boom, a lot of those people were AO3. That was where they published.
I'm even thinking just back, you know, what were some of the really popular fandom pairings that kind of show up under Grumpy Sunshine, both like now and later. And one of my favorite was always The Witcher, Geralt and Jaskier. That was always really fun. But also in Good Omens, Aziraphale and Crowley.
I haven't seen it.
Oh
my mom's watched
well, I read the
She's
book.
A huge
I read the
Omens.
book like when it came out, and I remember thinking at the time, like I think I wrote fanfic for that pairing, like back when it came out, like on fanfiction.net or something like that. But like I love that pairing so much. I haven't watched the latest season. Then you have like even like Naruto. I was a huge Naruto fan when I was younger. Like Sasuke and Naruto was kind of like, yeah, that's them. But even going back to, I think we've talked about with Dr. Fandom, Katie Ferndon last year, was talking about Star Trek being some of the original fandom. Bones and Kirk is considered a grumpy sunshine because Bones is grumpy as hell all the time. Jim, like that's a great one. Or even if you watch Ted Lasso, like Roy and Keeley is canon, and I would definitely count that as grumpy sunshine. But if you're into fic, Roy and Jamie, also a fun one. But there's so much from like Zootopia with Judy and Nick, I think is really fun as kind of that same thing. Stranger Things has it. The Hobbit has it. Star Wars has it. MCU has it. The Doctor has it. Like Doctor Who. There's so much in here that's extremely popular, and I think that's why I've always gravitated towards those guys because it's my roots in fandom, and now I just get to like actually see a lot of this stuff on TV.
Right, and a lot of it isn't like romance, although the fanfic turns it romantic. But even those characters on those original shows, I hope people aren't writing Zootopia fanfic.
Oh no, it exists. I found it. I found it. I didn't mean to. I found it. I looked at it and I went, mm-hmm. Okay, cool.
Okay. Mm-hmm. They're consenting.
What is it like? Is it Rule 43 that like if it exists, there's gonna be
erotica or something about it?
Yeah. It's good. Okay, so I do think though with Grumpy Sunshine, there's a few things that this is very clearly not. Like there are boundaries around this that keep it together, and I think the biggest thing for me, being the one who loves the Grump, is the Grump is not cruel. This is not like a mean character in the way that he's not like red flag everything. I'm going to say he just like emotionally turned off or emotionally unavailable, but he's not cruel. So if the Grump ever falls into the territory of like punishing people for existing, that's not going to be really this trope for me. That's just going to be an asshole.
He's not Grumpy Sunshine. He's alpha hole.
Yeah, I don't love that. That's for other people, not for me. No,
especially if he's a person in power who's using his power to demean others. Then that is not the kind of thing that I want to be reading.
Yeah, and I think it goes back to the soft squishy boy thing on the inside is like, I think one of the Grump's biggest features is like he's got armor for some reason, whether it's a past hurt, whether he's awkward socially, whatever it is. Like the armor has to be having something real underneath. There can't be a lack or that alpha attitude, because then it's just like, I don't really want this character. I don't care. I don't believe anymore.
I think that's true for any character who has unlikable traits. We've talked before about every character has flaws, and that's what makes them human, and their imperfections is what makes us care about them, because if they didn't have any sort of flaws and they were just perfect, they'd be boring to read. But we also have to have some sort of redeeming piece to them. So if they're grumpy, you also have to have that like early save the cat moment of, they're grumpy, but they also help their neighbor with their lawn, their yard work. So that way they don't have to talk to them, but they're going to help the elderly person next door. Like they have to have some sort of, but they also take care of their mother, or they have a younger sister, or there's something going on that makes them, yes, they have a reason, they have the armor on, they have this wound, but there's a reason for it, and somebody in their life knows why that is.
Yeah, I would say their competence in that way is typically how they show like the crack. Like, they do help their neighbor, they help their family. But it's also, I think you've hit on something big there, which is this idea that the Grump is not grumpy just because they are. They're going to be typically withholding because giving has cost them in the past. And this is a reaction to something, whether small, medium, or large, in terms of something that's happened in their past. Sometimes it's a relationship that went really, really wrong, or they were cheated on, or they were lied to, or they're modeling something from their parents that they saw growing up, or their childhood, or something like that. But there's usually a reason why they are not effusive or emotionally open.
They're closed off in some way. Right. Mm-hmm. And the Sunshine character tends to be more open, even if they've been hurt. They're willing to go through it again. Whereas the Grumpy character sort of shuts down.
How would you, when it comes to the Sunshine character, And we talked about them being emotionally open, they're intentionally choosing optimism, seeing the good in things. Much like the Grump has to be like not cruel, what do you think the boundaries are for someone who's more on like the sunshine spectrum, I'll call it?
I think they have to have a perspective, and they cannot be a doormat. They still have to have boundaries. If they don't have boundaries, so even when you were doing like the zinger at the beginning and you're like, they're going to knock on the door even though they've been greeted with a scowl, like they can be optimistic, they can be, they can be continuously trying to reach out, but they're not relentless. At some point, they're going to be like, okay, fine. Like they're not dumb about it. They're not like a spam cold emailer who's just going to be like, I know you haven't responded to my last 15 emails, but maybe this one will
Do you
work.
want me to set 10 to 15 appointments for you per day? Or, dear host, I love your show. Insert name here. I'm like,
Dude, the one that we're getting lately, which is literally starts dear preferred contact name. Every time, dear preferred contact name. And she's trying to sell us annuities. And I'm like, what? I don't know. That's not sunshine. That's just spam. But the point being, sidebar aside, like the sunshine character isn't, they still do have edges. They still have something that is interesting and unique about them that they're trying to protect too. So we did a whole episode on love hypothesis. And I would say that's a classic Grumpy Sunshine. Adam is gruff. He is, they're both incredibly intelligent, but Adam is gruff and he tells things like it is and he doesn't sugarcoat things. And that's part of academia, right? He's like, I want people to be better. And Olive is like, okay, but you're scaring the shit out of them. So here's how we can soften these edges and make you like, not even more likable, but just like, more approachable, easier for people to communicate with. And then meanwhile, she's providing herself those boundaries too and saying like, I don't want to let everybody else in. And I can be sort of sunshiny to Adam, but I don't want to give him everything. I still will just meet for our muffins on Wednesday morning and that's it. Like she's not giving him everything right out of the gate. She's not completely open, but she's optimistic. And she doesn't have the resources that he does. And there's some class and there's some age and there's definitely some like economic disparities happening between the two of them and social adjustments. But like she still sees the good in people, even though throughout the entire book, she's getting screwed over by her classmates, some of her teachers, her advisor. Like there are people who are actively working against her, that like guy in Boston, Tom or whatever, like, and she still is like, well, I think it's going to work out, right? So even when things aren't going her way, she then still takes it as, well, that's something that went wrong. That's not human nature. That's not a universal truth. Versus Adam is like, things went bad. I'm going to protect myself.
Yeah, and I like how you said they're kind of, the word opening is really kind of hitting for me here, because I often think about, what is someone's character arc? What is that transformation or that change? And I think for the Grump, it's going from closed off to open. They're not necessarily changing or trying to redeem themselves. They're just, what does it look like when I am open to things?
I am taking this one little gap in my heart, and I'm letting one person into this little gap in my heart.
And then going more. But I'm curious, like, what is the Sunshine's like arc in counterpart? If the Grump is the one that is like opening, then what is the Sunshine's change? Because I've seen it show up a couple of different ways. Sometimes it's they get hurt and they let themselves actually feel that instead of defaulting to, here's what my breakup taught me about B2B marketing. Like, but like, what else is the Sunshine character changing? Like, what is their journey?
It's often their A-plot that's changing. It's not necessarily their temperament that's changing. So they're able to, especially if they start in a bit more of a doormat space, maybe they can become more assertive over the course of the book. Or they start to recognize things that they missed the first time around. So I think of like the hating game, where Lucy is oblivious to the fact that Josh is completely in love with her, and she's kind of and I think also like when you get single narrator, like single POV woman with a closed off male character, you're like, oh, so he's been in love with her the whole time and she's oblivious, like every time. So they sort of start to realize that and start to put themselves out there in a romantic way, because so often they've been, you know, not realizing that there's something happening between those two characters. That's like sort of a tropey sub-trope of this, I think, sometimes. But to your point, I think the transformation often happens in their career or in their families, or having somebody at their back who sees them and who appreciates them and who's let them in, gives them the strength to go do something outside of their comfort zone.
Ooh, that's fun. I like that.
I just came up with that, so I have no examples except the two that I just gave you.
Well done. I like it. Well, because I think it goes back to, you know, what is true about these characters when we first meet them. And as I said, I think the Grump is, they're armored because of something that happened in the past. So it's, I think in many ways, it's like a safety measure, whether it's from trauma or just from like, I don't want to have to like process other people's emotions or deal, whatever it is. But like the Sunshine, as you said, I think like they also have to have some type of damage that they're dealing with. It's
well, so as you've been talking, I've been thinking about like writing a Grumpy Sunshine, because my first book was Grumpy Sunshine, and we have Alex who comes home and he's just like shut down, taciturn. I have to get back to work. I have to focus on this. And Grace is very much like, she's not trying to pull Alex out of his shell. She's not trying to make Alex a better person. Grace is trying to live her life, and she needs a Santa, and she's friends with his sister, and she has all these other things going on, and he just notices. He just notices that things aren't going her way, and she's still like a trooper about it. And then by the end of the book, you know, she's able to go back to her hometown and go back to her family and confront her past and really like have him at her back. I just said all of this thinking about other books, and I'm like, no, Alex was literally standing behind her as she confronted her father, you know, and like having the emotional strength and resilience of knowing that you're not alone in this and that you have someone who's strong, who's beside you in that process. Grace was able to say, okay, now I want to, you know, foster a child. Now I have all these dreams that I've been putting off or that I haven't taken seriously, and I want to take them now. I don't need somebody to do that. And I think that that's a huge part of the Sunshine transformation, is the recognition that somebody saw me and saw my strength and saw my abilities and saw what I can accomplish, and they paved the way for me in some way.
Yeah, I think that's one of the parts of, I'll call it like the resolution or the turning point in Grumpy Sunshine stories, is, you know how I feel about big gestures. Thank you, but no thank you. Don't make me party to your bullshit. Don't involve the public in your stuff. But I think Grumpy Sunshine really works because it's usually not a big gesture. It's like
much smaller.
It's small, and it's like it's usually the Grump doing something to show that they've been paying attention the whole time, and oh wow, they actually are that soft squishy boy, being a non-gender term, soft squishy boy, because it has to be BOI for boy.
Yes.
BOI.
Yes.
Boy, soft squishy boy. But I think for the
Sunshine, gender neutral, soft squishy, gender neutral boy.
There you go. But then I think for the Sunshine character, the small gesture I think can sometimes be like being angry, or like establishing a boundary verbally, or choosing like specifically not to be Sunshine in that moment and like lay down a boundary. For me, I was like, that's kind of fun when they do that, even if it's like with the Grump or with the Grump just observing, to be like, no, like, ooh, I like that too. I aspire to have that ease of communicating boundaries so clearly.
That self-advocacy that shows up. That isn't just, I'm going to let people take over the conversation, but like, no, I'm here. I'm going to take up space. I'm going to, especially if there's something that the Grump has always taken up space in and the Sunshine has sort of tiptoed around. I think that can be a really interesting transformation as well. That like the Sunshine is able to take on some of the more like positive Grumpy characteristics, if you will. Of like, I don't care how you feel about me. This is how I need to be supported.
Yeah, I like that idea though of taking on some of the Grump's more positive characteristics, like not performing. I don't think it's true with all Sunshine characters where they're performing away. Like sometimes they are. Sometimes, as a part of making a choice, I think it kind of falls into that fake it till you make it, just a little bit of no, like I'm going to just do this because I've made this choice. But I think some of the Grump's positive qualities are that they're not going to pretend. They're not going to mask, even if it's like societally kind of rude what they're doing. They're not going to. So I love it, to your point, when the Sunshine can take on some of those characteristics of, I'm not going to perform happiness for you right now. I'm not going to perform positivity. I can still make a choice about how I want to live my life, but in a particular situation or scenario, yeah, I'm not going to be performing for you. This is not a dance monkey dance situation.
Let's talk about one particular scenario that I love for Grumpy Sunshine that feels very tropey and trite, and I still love it every time that I see it, which is Christmas Grumpy Sunshine, where the Grump is like, I don't want to do anything with Christmas. I don't want to put up a tree. I don't want to like decorate. I don't want to do any of this bullshit. And then the Sunshine character is like, well, too bad, because I'm dragging you to the Christmas lighting and we're gonna go, and like they're performing cheer. I really love when they're performing like, oh, we're going to make gingerbread because you always made gingerbread and this is really important to do gingerbread and we're going to go ice skating and we're going to do all these things. And then I haven't seen this in a while. I love the moment where the Sunshine character gets sad and nostalgic. And they go, oh, this isn't like it was as my childhood. And no matter how many cake decorating and cookie swaps I go to, it isn't going to give me my father back. I love
that you brought this one up because that's The Geek Who Saved Christmas by Annabeth Albert.
I haven't even read that one. I think I've read other ones in that series, but maybe not that one.
It's like a cute like holiday novella, but yeah, you literally have a character named Gideon Holiday who's like that perfect neighbor. Do you need sugar? Do you need a chair? Do you need batteries? He's always gotten it. And he's got his neighbor Paul Frost, who doesn't want to decorate, has no interest in holidays, wants to just hide away because he just does not give a fuck about holidays, Christmas, or performing seasonal joy. But then his younger brother announces that he's coming home for like this surprise visit. He's like, oh shit, I kind of need, to make, parental trauma from childhood. I kind of need to make my house look like a holiday Christmas. So he goes to Gideon and is like, so I need help. And of course, Gideon comes in. He's got like, I got a color-coded plan for how we're going to do lights. And there's going to be trees here and trees there. And we're going to make cookies these days. And there's flannel sheets here that look like this. I bet they're buffalo plaid. And then like, yeah, what happens when you start, you have Gideon who is like really nice and helpful. In some ways is performing that because he's made that choice. Then you have like the really grumpy one next door who's like, I want none of this. But then starts to like it. And of course, the sibling visits and things go really well. It's just like a really cute, I think it's a novella. Yeah, two heroes in their 40s trying to figure out that maybe the right one was next door all along. And then there were Christmas trees. So I love that you said it because as soon as you were talking, like, I've read that book. I have read that book.
That was not on our list of recommendations,
No,
but that is a great Grumpy Sunshine.
I
think there are other scenarios that you'll see this show up in, like a grumpy boss with a Sunshine assistant. Mm-hmm. You'll see that fairly frequently, but you want to make sure that, again, it's a grumpy boss, not an a-hole boss.
Yeah, I got no patience for a-hole. No, thank you. No, thank you. But
a deal with the devil by Elizabeth O'Rourke does this incredibly well, where like he's been in love with her the whole time. Spoiler. Yeah. But like his assistant goes on vacation, and so his assistant hires his friend to cover for it, and then she ends up making him the soft boy, and then she gets her boundaries that she was struggling with from her previous relationship, and it works really well. But he's grumpy. He's not rude. Yeah, he's not controlling. He's not, actively mean.
Actually, I was just kind of going through, my list of kind of like Grumpy Sunshine books, looking up like what does Goodreads have as like best grumpy. And it just occurred to me looking at this list how many of these are Christmas stories.
Yeah, it works so well for Christmas.
So I do think there's definitely some settings where, yeah, like on this list, I'm like, oh wow, okay, like half of these are Christmas stories that are being recommended as Grumpy Sunshine, and that's
I think there's a lot of like
funny.
the Grump Who Saved Christmas. I mean,
Yeah.
Peppermint Bark was a Grumpy Sunshine Christmas novel because like you have the great thing about Christmas is you have the forced proximity. You have the family, whether it's family found family, you have some sort of like people are together. You have a ticking clock that builds into it. You have a like there's so much we've talked about this for just like holiday novels in general, but you know, what are those things that work so well for the holiday setting and the holiday time, and then you put in these differing personalities that keep bumping against each other, because that's the thing about Grumpy Sunshine is like you need to have a reason for them to continue to see each other, because they could just write each other off. This isn't an insta love. This isn't, you know, why do these people keep pushing themselves into each other's lives, or one pushing into the other's lives, or they keep they're next door neighbors, they're on the same soccer team, they're, you know, what's the reason that their lives keep intersecting, because otherwise the Grump could just avoid them and it would be fine.
I think I'll make sure these are in the show notes, but Faye Quinn writes a lot of Grumpy Sunshine and a lot of Christmas ones, like her Christmas Daddy series got a bunch, and there's some other ones. And I think that's what I always like is sometimes I feel like the Grumpy Sunshine characters almost feel like when you're working with a puppy or some type of like animal that is not well trained yet, where you're like, I must approach carefully because I don't know if they're going to roll over and I can rub their belly or if they're going to bite my finger. Right? Like so I like that.
No, so I would actually stretch this metaphor a little bit, which is like walk into an animal shelter and you have a puppy who's very enthusiastic, and so we can talk about golden retriever, black cat, but like let's play with the sunshine character being a puppy who like doesn't know when to not crawl on people and maybe bite them because their teeth are too sharp and they can come off a little bit strong, right? Because they're so enthusiastic. Versus the older dog that like they're a little taciturn. They may not get up every time somebody walks through the doors of the shelter because they're just tired. And they're like, I've been on the walks. Nobody adopts me. They're going to adopt the person in the crate next to me because that's the cute one. And nobody's going to pay attention to me, and I'll just lay here and I'll stay here and I'll be the staff favorite, but I'm not going home with anyone. And I feel like that might be the vibe that you see in Grumpy Sunshine, is like a puppy versus a senior dog.
Oh, no, this is so sad. I say looking over at my senior dog going, I love you.
know, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to make it about Riesling. Did you hear my sorry? I was like so Canadian there for a second.
Sorry. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I haven't even talked to you in weeks until today. And I'm like, or my Canadian assistant. And I'm like, oh, sorry.
Okay, so you brought up Black Cat Golden Retriever. So I love kind of what I'll call the offshoots of
the subvariants.
The subvariants, kind of like what we talked about with like himbos and Jimbros, you know, they're all kind of like there's a Venn diagram involved. But you've got Black Cat Golden Retriever. You usually get the enemies to lovers in there a little bit, but you also can sometimes get the grumpy when they're both kind of grumpy with different people. But I really like Black Cat Golden Retriever as well. For me, I think it's funny you talked about, like, you brought up Christmas. I'm like, yeah, Grumpy Sunshine often in Christmas, which I like. Black Cat Golden Retriever, for some reason, when I read it, often shows up in like thrillers, or like one of them is a thief, like, or there's something like that. I don't know why that seems to show up for me, but you've got, you know, the difference from Grumpy Sunshine. Grumpy Sunshine is like mood. Black Cat Golden Retriever is like energy and attachment style, because I see Golden Retriever is like I'm just so like a Golden Retriever. For those of you who've had Golden Retriever, I have a Golden Doodle. Before this, I had a Golden Retriever. I'm very familiar with the energy. And Black Cat is like that one that's just kind of like slinking around going, There's like overlap.
I might let you touch me today, but I also might scratch your arm to shit.
Yeah. And like, feed me, human.
Like you are here to support me. I think like the difference is that like Grumpy is like they're withdrawn versus like a Black Cat is controlled.
Ooh, okay, I like that.
Like they're more buttoned up as opposed to closed off.
I do like that.
And so then I see a lot of that Black Cat Golden Retriever in like a workplace.
Yeah.
where there's
Okay.
an expectation of professionalism. And so they're like, but they're also like not bothered by like, okay, they don't like me. Well, too bad because I'm doing my job, you know?
Yeah. Black cat. Like, oh, cats are
Victoria's
weird.
black cat in my you
Yes.
know, my
In your
world.
book.
She's
Yeah, yeah.
my perfect black. Like if I were to write a black cat, it's just Victoria. It's Victoria everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And then she's the only one that has a pet. She's the only one that has a cat. The
Oh,
only
I
reason that
realized
cat is
that.
not a black cat is because it didn't look good on the cover. So we changed it to a Persian.
Although Persian also very much fits for her. I could also
Uh-huh.
see Victoria having a Sphinx. Like just some like expensive bougie cat.
Yeah, but she would have to like have it sit in her lap and then like stroke it slowly.
Yes, it would have very expensive La Mer moisturizer for its skin, just like her.
It would, and it would have like cashmere sweaters. That it
I just
wears.
like
Made out
how
of- no, it would be other cats' hair. It would. She would like.
conquer other cats. I just like that, very speaking very specifically into the animal metaphor, that having a cat or having a dog is also a personality trait and tells you a
Yeah.
lot about a character. But also, like, I'm very allergic to cats, so I cannot be around cats. Like, I can't even be in the same room as them. I break out into hives and I start itching. But if I had a cat, it would be an orange cat because they are unhinged and I
Yeah.
love them.
I adopted a cat when I was single. Actually, I told you this on our other podcast when I had you on with as a guest with Jessica. I adopted a cat when I was 24. So it was like, first job, a couple of years out of college, sort of like establishing myself, and got a cat from the shelter. And he was a black cat, green eyes, Siamese, talked all the time, never shut up, and he was a stray. So I remember I lived in like this tiny studio apartment in Boston, and I made myself an Eggo waffle, and that asshole grabbed the Eggo waffle and took it underneath the bed so he could eat it himself. Like, that is black cat behavior. Like, I don't care if you made yourself an Eggo waffle. It's my Eggo now. Like, he used to eat the top of bread. He would tear through the loaf and then eat just the tops
So
pieces of bread.
specific.
Yeah, but that was also like a stray black cat, so he was very much like, I will do what I want to do and I don't care. I will survive, bitch. You're not letting me out of this apartment anymore, so I will take what I want. We just put him down last month, so.
No, it's so sad.
18
But also,
years old, 19 years old.
holy smokes! Like, oh,
Yeah.
that's Reese. You're gonna live forever. I've decided it. Okay.
You shall be the first dog.
Yeah, the first dog
You shall go down to the Guinness Book of World Records
to
as
live.
immortal dog.
It's true. It's true. All right. So to kind of take us in for a close here, I think my final thoughts on Grumpy Sunshine is I really that whole he's only mean to everyone else is something I think very specific, because we often say, we talked about this a little bit when we talked in previous episodes about being the specialist boy or the specialist girl. I'm the only one. I can fix him, her, they. And that is true, but I think this is a little bit different because it's not I'm the specialist boy, which again, another non-gendered term on the show, a specialist boy.
Specialist boy.
Boy.
It's
The
boy.
boy, the specialist boy.
Boy.
Like that is like the other character is like almost violent to other people. That's when you get like the mafia bosses, the billionaires, like, I'm the specialist one because he's mean to everyone else. And there is a little bit of like that possessive kind of dominant dynamic, which is by no means a bad thing. I read it, I like it. But to me, it's very different from the he's mean to everyone else that can show up in Grumpy Sunshine. Because I think it goes back to performance for me. We talked about how the Sunshine character, sometimes maybe their flaw is that they have made this choice for themselves about how they want to live, that sometimes it becomes performative for them, that even if they don't feel sunshiny in that moment, they're still going to perform it. And I think it's kind of the same thing with like the Grump, is like, it's not, I'm the only one that can fix them. It's the Grump doesn't need to perform okayness, and I'm the only one they'll do that for. So I think it's a little bit different. Like for me, what I found people talking about when I was doing research on this is they talked about this idea of rest. So rest meaning you don't have to perform or manage how you appear. Like that's the big difference. And that's something that I really like, because when we start adding in layers of like emotional labor and interpersonal dynamics and how is this person changing. I think ultimately what comes down to with this trope is this idea of performance, performing okayness, performing civility, performing positivity, and all of those other things that when you get through the conflict that kind of brings in that dark night of the soul or being witnessed in your non-performative state, that's where this trope I think really gets to hit hard.
And what does it mean? Because we've been talking a little bit about the gendered roles of like, oh, you know, the male character tends to be the grump. So like it happened one summer, you get Brendan the fisherman, and then you get Piper the sort of like influencer who comes to town and surprises each other, you know, and you get these like very, and that one in particular I felt very gendered by, but I know that you said that this is one of your favorites for MM too. So when you see a queer grumpy sunshine and you don't have the gendered, oh, the girl is supposed to behave in this feminine way and the man could just be closed off and she'll have to break his heart open and save him, like we all know is bullshit, and that's one of the reasons we love a himbo. How do you think this is different when it's queer, or when it's same-sex queer?
I think it's still gendered because just kind of looking back at some of the books on my list, I'm like, okay, yeah, the sunshine one is like the more twinky one, and the grumpy one is more of like the buff mountain man. Now there are a few books that make them similar in body type or similar in I'll say like aesthetic, but I'd say it still shows up, you know, similar to how it's gendered is that, yeah, literally the sunshine one is usually a twinky, thin blonde. And the grumpy one is like a big, jacked up bear of a character. I'd say like it's still fairly common, you know, like we've said in some of our past episodes, like I think it's when we were talking about Fire Island and Bottoms, like, you know, the queer community, we still have plenty of our own biases and things about how we think people should look. And if you don't look like what we think you should look like, you know, it's like, yeah, in Fire Island, they were talking about no fats, no femmes, no Asians. Like, I think it's still very, very gendered in that way. It's not, you know, necessarily two different genders or gender identities, but it is like, yeah, there's still a shit ton of stereotypes that go with it.
Well, that's something maybe we can track and clock too, is when we find a good grumpy sunshine that doesn't fit into these, not just like I said, the reverse grumpy sunshine, which is just like, oh, the girl's mean, me, you know, like that shouldn't be reverse in this. Well, we don't need to get into a reverse harem versus why choose conversation here, but you know, like that's a little bit over gendered. But the fact that we have these same sex situations where it's still always like the butch lesbian versus like the lipstick lesbian is the sunshine character, like why? So if we can listeners, soulmates, if you see any grumpy sunshines that subvert this, whether it is a more traditional MF, but it's the quote-unquote reverse, or you've read queer that subverts this expectation of these kind of phenotypes. That's a body type, right? Phenotype? I think so.
I thought phenotype was more like DNA level.
Is that it might be? Okay, well, body
phenotype. Types. Oh, no, you're correct. It's observable characteristics or traits of an organism.
Yes.
So you've got morphology, which is your physical form, height, color. You've got physiology, blood type, behavior, and diseases are all under the phenotype umbrella. You are so welcome for this science corner.
I didn't even know all of that. I was thinking physiology probably, but phenotype I like. Because I am always concerned about the blood types of all of my characters, whether I'm writing them, reading them.
These manga writer?
Grace, like me, is an O negative. I know that for certain. She is definitely a universal donor. So many of these sunshine characters are universal donors. And then the grumps are just AB positive. They're just hoarding all of those, what is it, RHs? I don't know.
RH nulls. Or the golden bloods. Yeah.
Nikki, what's your blood type? Do you know?
I think I'm the universal donor. Is that O negative or
O negative?
Yeah, I think I'm pretty sure I'm O negative. Like I'm 95% sure. The other possibility is O positive, but I'm pretty sure I'm O negative.
O positive is more common than O negative. Yeah. They still want your blood if you're O positive, but
I don't know. I'm a blood donor. I'm one of the O's. I think I'm a universal
I'm an O negative
donor.
And I'm married an O positive. So our kids had to be O, but both of them are O positive. So I still had to get that shot in my ass with both kids. Like RH shot.
I don't even know what that is. That's so random.
Oh, like if you have negative blood and like the fetus that you're carrying has positive blood, you have to have like an RH inhibitor or something like that.
Oh, so your blood, because your blood types aren't compatible.
Because your blood types aren't compatible, so you could reject the blood of the child that you're carrying.
See, the thing, science is weird. The things that I don't even think about is odd.
I know, right?
All right.
Nikki, what's the thing that you love the most about Grumpy Sunshine?
I think for me, it's honestly that moment that I talked about at the beginning, where like, you know, there's like witty repartee, and the Sunshine character turns around and like is going to leave, and then the Grumpy character like cracks a smile, then fixes their face. Like the times you see the armor start to crack, little chinks start to show up, like just that little bit of openness that almost like justifies the Sunshine's continued attention in that character, and also proving to the reader or the watcher, the viewer, whatever, that the Grumpy character does have something going on underneath. There is that soft squishy boy. I think that's my favorite.
First peek of the squishy boy.
First peek of the squishy boy is probably my favorite. Meg, what about you? What do you ship the most about Grumpy Sunshine?
I think it's my moment that I mentioned earlier of the Sunshine character sharpening their spine in some way. This is not what I would have expected to say before we had this conversation too, when we were like prepping this, but now that we've had this conversation, I'm like, no, I like that moment of self-advocacy, of learning something from the relationship, whether or not that person is physically in the room, you're still in the relationship, or you're in the third act conflict, but like the way that the Sunshine character has learned something from the Grumpy character that is directly applicable to their situation to strengthen their case in some way. I love that moment.
Ooh, okay. I love that very much. All right. Well, before we get into the question of what we're shipping this week, head on over to your podcast provider of choice. Leave us a rating, leave us a review, subscribe to the show. Helps more people find out about us, and we'd greatly appreciate it. So let's talk what we shipping. Meg, what you be shipping this week?
I had eye surgery last week, and the thing about eye surgery is that you lay in bed a lot afterwards reading. So I have read the entire 7-book Brothers Sinister series by Courtney Milan in the past week, which is a lot for me. I know for you 7 books is like a weekend, but for me a 7-book series is it's a commitment. I had never read any of Courtney Milan's historicals, which is what she's better known for, but I had read her contemporaries, and one of her contemporaries, Hold Me, is the inspiration that I had for writing a trans character for my book 1. So I love her writing, and so I probably over the next 7 episodes I'm just gonna go like boom 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 straight through the series because I love the series so much. The first one is a novella. It's very quick. It's about 100 pages. It's called The Governess Affair, and it is the story of Serena. She was the governess in a household, has been sexually assaulted by a duke, and she goes and she's like, I don't want life to happen to me anymore. And she goes and she just sits on a bench, sitting outside the duke's house and saying like, you will acknowledge me. You will recognize me. You will give me something for what you did to me. And that's all she can do. She's a governess. He's a duke. What can you do? And so the duke goes to his right-hand man, Hugo, and he's like, make this go away. Get her out of here. She can't just sit in front of my house for days and days and days. And so, of course, Hugo falls in love with her. And Hugo decides to, help her, and he marries her so that way this kid isn't out of wedlock. But he's like, okay, I'll just send her off to a country house. And then, Hugo follows her. And that is the start of the series, but it's also the prequel novella of The Duke that starts book 1 of The Duchess Wars, which is the next book. So I love that you get this like parent prequel that ends up guiding the entire series, this choice that they make. So I'm just gonna keep talking about this series, but start with The Governess Affair by Courtney Milan. Nikki, what are you shipping this week?
I am shipping Lucy Lennox's recent release called Magpie. This is a father's best friend story, which I just really enjoy. So you have Robbie, who grows up the son of like a big Hollywood guy who's very much an absentee parent. And his dad's best friend is Kit, who is like CEO of this big Hollywood company. And Kit has kind of been taking care of Robbie, or giving him the attention that he never got from his father. And Robbie has had a crush on him pretty much his entire like adult life, elder teenager to adult. And Kit is the one that calls him Magpie and like gets him these little gifts. So there's a lot of yearning going on, which, as everybody knows, it's my favorite thing.
You love a yearning.
I really do. And then there's one drunken confession from Robbie to Kit, and that kind of splinters their relationship. And then we flash forward 10 years. And, you know, Robbie's like, I'm no longer a kid. I'm a man. I have a life. I have these desires. But Kit is the one I just can't forget about. Lots of drama ensues with family and different things happening. Obviously, there's going to be a happy ending, but, you know, slow burn, forbidden romance. And then it just ends up with like just a great ending. I love the resolution of the story. And then there's also, once you finish the book, you get the ability to download a novella from one of the side characters, Rex, going back to his hometown and his lost love, which is also really great. So Magpie, Lucy Lennox, available in many, many places. It is not on KU, but it's definitely worth the buy. All right.
That's a huge endorsement from you.
Yes, like when she first released it, and I was like, "Oh, it's not on KU. Like, it's just a couple bucks." And I was like, "No, I need to read this." I'm so happy I bought it because it's a great book. Beautiful. All right. Well, that is all for us this week. Thank you, soulmates. If you'd like to support the show, the number one thing you can do: rate, review, and subscribe on your podcast provider of choice. Share it with a soulmate of your own. Word of mouth is one of the greatest ways to grow the show. You can follow us on social media at First Dates and Soulmates. And if you got a little bit of money to send our way, you can subscribe to the show on Substack. Do it for 1 month, do it for many months. If you would like to sponsor the show, we now offer show sponsorships. You can check out firstdatesandsoulmates.com for more information about that. And that is it for us this week. Coming up next week, we are returning to the queen of Netflix, the actress closest to my heart. We're talking Zoe Deutsch, voice of Isabel. That's coming up next week. Bye.
Bye.